everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. Today we have two guests, two of our students who are currently studying in Puebla, Lala and Crystal, who have very kindly agreed to talk about their experience and let you know what it's like being in Puebla with all the COVID restrictions still ongoing and how their study abroad experiences may be different from what they expected. I'd like to keep this really just an informal conversation. I will also say we have Lisette, who is our fun site coordinator in Puebla, who can help answer questions too. But just an informal conversation. I have a few questions I'll kick things off with to get the conversation started. But please, as you have any questions that come up, don't hesitate to unmute yourself or put the question in the chat and we will address those too. But to start off, Lala and Crystal, would you please both introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about why you decided to choose the Puebla program?
Hi, I'm Crystal. I am a junior at Notre Dame. I'm studying neuroscience with minors in Latino studies and theology, and I love it here in Puebla. I decided to choose the Puebla program because I think it really spoke to a lot of my interests that I have. I'm very interested in studying Spanish, learning the language. I really want to break through the language barrier in the future, hopefully as a future physician, but in life in general in the future. But not only the language barrier, also the cultural barrier that exists when we don't know how to step into someone else's shoes. So that's something that was really important to me about coming here. And also the medical aspect, I am on the pre-med track. So it's been really great here just to be able to interact with doctors, learn more about the Mexican healthcare system, and really be able to dive into different medical topics that we haven't talked about in the US yet. Like today we did suturing, which was really fun. It's all over the story from Lala, which is so great. But yeah, so it's been great to study the language, culture, and also the medical aspect.
Hello, everyone. I am Lala. Well, that's my nickname. My real name is Carlandria, but I go by Lala Petty. And I am a junior studying abroad in Puebla. My majors are science pre-professional studies and Spanish. And a major reason I decided to come to Puebla was just my upbringing. In South Bend, there is a huge Latino population. And being that I did grow up on the west side of South Bend, I was just always around the culture, but I wanted to be more involved and I wanted to be a resource and an asset for my community because I do believe that South Bend is growing and glowing, like I like to say. So I do believe in South Bend and I want to help in any way possible. And I believe coming here was definitely a way to just throw myself into the part of the Latino culture. And also I also want to be a doctor. I want to be a physical therapist, and I would love to be bilingual one day. And I think not just knowing the language, but understanding the culture and the history behind it is what makes you a great doctor and makes you relate to your patients more. And not to mention I love food, so it wasn't hard choosing this program.
That's a good choice. Thank you both. And just to quickly comment on something that Crystal mentioned, both Lala and Crystal took over Notre Dame International's Instagram today. So if you've not been following us on Instagram, please do. They've been giving you a look into the Puebla program there as well. So just next question, how did you prepare yourself for the program just in the months leading up to it? And did you have any hesitations knowing that there were some ongoing COVID restrictions and uncertainties?
Yeah, for me, I know that in the months leading up to the program, I had like Spanish classes going through the internship that I was taking, and that was something that really helped prepare me for the listening aspect of Spanish. We did a lot of like comprehension activities in class, and all of our classes here are in Spanish except for physics. So it was super helpful for just being able to like listen to Spanish and understand it. Speaking is something that I'm definitely struggling with. And I wish I would have prepared a little bit more for, but we're getting through and we're studying hard, and it's a good learning opportunity for sure. And COVID wise, I know that I was very scared that the program wasn't going to go through at all. So it honestly is a great blessing that we were able to go, and just preparing for that, just making sure to have all of the needed like equipment and like PPE needed for classes as well as like daily life here in Mexico. And also just making sure like packing and everything like that definitely was a big preparation tool that I put off a little bit too late. But yes, I think one thing that one factor that I didn't really know of was the online classes. I think that would have been an important preparation factor, but something to orient myself into in the future. But I was honestly more concerned that the program was going to get canceled than whether or not things were going to be online or anything like that. So I think just preparing in general for it to be canceled was more of my mindset for preparation. And it ended up, I was very, very excited that it went through, and it's been really great so far.
Yes. So for me, there was a couple of ways that I prepared myself. I want to start off by saying like I was preparing myself mentally. Being that I am from South Bend, I was born there and then I decided to go to school there. Like I've never gone anywhere else really. Like I've always been in like, yes, maybe to other people, oh, like I'm independent, that's great. I stay in the dorms or I have my own apartment, things like that. But it never takes away the factor that you are in a familiar place and that you could call on someone, like, someone in your hometown that you could possibly depend on. So taking that factor away was something I knew that I could possibly struggle with. Thankfully, I have not been struggling with that because of the support system here. But that was one way that I prepared myself. Another way was there's a place called La Casa de Amistad in South Bend, and I had an internship there. And it was so great. And the theme this summer was identity, which was awesome. I think it actually goes along with how I feel in Puebla right now. And a big part of the theme was like Mexican philosophy, which is a big part of our political history class. And I think like just having that internship allowed me just to be around the culture, around me to see the dynamic between like families, and even just to pick up on some vocabulary. And then also as for the packing or like organization preparation, something that I did was I wrote down like everything. I look at a packing list as well, but I wrote down everything that I needed. And instead of like going out and splurging so much money in one day, I would do it weekly, like get this week and the next week I'll buy something else. And I kind of used it as something to get me like more excited for the program because like when I would buy something, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm going. Okay, yes, I'm going. Like it was just more and more to come. So that was my preparation for this program.
I love the mental preparation piece. It's so important. Crystal, you talked a little bit about this. Could you expand on what classes are like there and how they're different? Because there is that hybrid model this semester, which I know was unexpected. But that may last next year when these students are going. So what's that like right now for you?
Yeah, right now, it honestly, like when we had first heard about it, I was a little bit more like worried that I should have ended up being. It's honestly very doable, like the online aspect. I only have one of my classes fully online. And even with that, like there's a group of people that are able to meet in person inside a classroom, and then we just go online through that. It's with other Mexican students, which has been super amazing just to be able to talk with them, learn from them. But I would say like the online portion seems scarier than it actually ended up being. I think like it's been going really well. Our teachers are very understanding. Like I know for my class for dialogues between science and religion, he has been so understanding with like everyone can come in because there would only be 2 people in the classroom on like our off week. And the school themselves has been super understanding about us like coming in and out for rotations, even if it's not technically our week to be at the school. So it's been really good class wise. And we've been learning a lot in our classes. And with the workload is a little bit less here, which has been really great just for being able to dive deeper into the subjects that we're studying, but also take time to explore the wonderful city around us and just get to know the people and everything that comes with that.
Definitely.
Do you have anything else to add, Lala?
I would just say I think it kind of scared us at first, like hearing that there were online classes, only because there's already the barrier of a mask. And like since it is a different language, it's like something that helps us is when we look at the mouth of the speaker, whoever's speaking, just to like try to understand as much as possible. But as for us, like a lot of the classes that we are taking them as like a group. Like a lot of us are in the same classes, and for the most part, if it's a class with just us, we get to go in, and that has been very helpful and beneficial. And then as far as, one thing I really, really noticed here is that they really care for your mental health, which is like super, like it's like superb. Like one of the first things they mentioned was like, we really want you guys to like understand the subject, but we also want you guys to take care of like your health. And that's just something that I really appreciate about this culture so far.
That's great. I'll just clarify for the attendees in the room. So this semester, because of COVID and UPEP, the host university, wanting to de-densify their campus a little bit, our students are split into two groups. And so every other week, the groups are on campus. So group A is on campus one week, group B is on campus the other week. In the off weeks, they're doing classes online. So we're going with more of a hybrid model for this program this semester, just based on what the host university needed to do. It could last, it may not, it may go back to fully in person, just depending on how the situation unfolds there. But that is something to think about. We don't run programs that are entirely online. So if it got to unless the students are already there, but if we know beforehand that a program is going to be entirely online, then we would look for another program for you to give you a little bit of an immersive experience. But generally speaking, this program is a hybrid model for now, and we'll see where it goes in the future. Could you both talk a little bit about the Mexican political history class? Just share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that one has been really fun so far. We've been able to visit different museums around the city, as well as just kind of engage in the culture in a deeper way through like learning about things in the classroom that we then later like see in person or like see acted out. Like we went to like Casa del Mendrugo, like the first time that we went on like an excursion or like a trip within the city together, and it just like showed so much of the history, and we were able to connect it to what we're learning like in a more tangible way, which has been super helpful.
Yes, I think with anything, when you have more understanding of something, you appreciate it more. And I think that's exactly like how I would describe this class. Like the fact that we take time out to learn the history and the history of Mexico, and then we make it even more specific and like go like directed towards Puebla and then directed towards Cholula, like places surrounding Puebla. I think it just makes it more, like Crystal said, tangible and easier to understand. And then also like it allows you to create memories that connect with information, which is really great for learning. So we will learn something in a lesson, and then we would go to the actual place of what we were like talking about. We went to Mayan pyramids, and I just thought that was so cool because it was literally like the actual like Mayan pyramids. Like it's crazy to me that was actually like, we were actually able to go there. It still blows my mind. I still look at the pictures and videos, and it still has like the actual like architecture still has some of the original paintings that the people who first came there like painted, and like how that's how they like kept a record of like what was going on in their history. So it's just cool how you can like backtrack all information, make it all connect. And like I said, like when you have more understanding of something, you appreciate it more. And I think that's exactly what this class is about.
Connecting that a little bit to when you first arrived, I know you had a bit of a trip at the beginning, but could you talk about your on-site orientation and that excursion that you did and any activities that you were involved in to help you get acclimated?
Yeah, our orientation ended up just being like online just because one of the girls ended up testing positive for COVID, but it was because she had like had it over the summer, so it ended up being okay and everything's good. But our orientation was online, so it was just over like Google Meet, and we kind of just went through slides. But our excursion leading up to that was honestly really special. I feel like it really, at least for me, like gave time to reflect. It was in like a very, very, very beautiful city. It was in Jico in Veracruz, and it was just an amazing area to like take time and find peace, but also like bond with everyone, which honestly was super helpful going into the rest of the first month here, and just being able to connect with people through like going on like hikes through the woods, or like exploring the river that was there, or going on, we did like a day of like and more like adventurous activities like canyoneering, zip lining, which was all very fun and lots of laughter. And it was just a really great bonding activity. But at least for me, like also taking time to just like talk with the people there, as well as like learn a little bit more about the culture while we were in the city, it like really allowed me time to like reflect and take that into like the upcoming week, which was a really busy week. So it was a great excursion.
Yes, I think when I think back to like the first few days of coming here, everyone was like so excited, and then we were hit with the rules. But then like I realized in that moment, like, oh, I did not like that. But then it's like, dang, I think about it, I'm like, if it was not that organized, I don't think like how everything is flowing now would happen. So I think when we had our orientation, how organized it was, how everything was laid out, how nothing has changed, like I think that's exactly how something should be. You know, if you're going to be, especially like for Lisette, like she has to take care of like 20 like adults, really like 20 adults, and that's a very hard job. But just the way that she and everyone else that is involved with getting us here, the way that everything was organized, and the way that we can have, if we don't like something or we don't agree with something, we can have open communication about it. And that's something that I really appreciate. So that's the part with like the orientation. And then as far as like our group trip, our bonding trip, not to brag on our program, but I think we are the closest in terms of like our relationship, our friends, like everything that we have right now, like we're all so close. Like we all hang out together. We all have like a group chat. It's just like really good vibes. And I don't know if we were just super blessed or fortunate, but I think like the people that made it into this program were like meant to, well, obviously that we're all meant to be here, but it's like all of our purposes are different, but they all align, which makes everything easier. And I think as far as like the activities that we did for the group trip, like they were daring. Like we had to jump off a canyon, we had to rappel backwards, climbing down a waterfall, we had to zip line. So it's all things that like sound really fun and amazing, but you're scared. And like when you're scared with other people, like it makes you closer to them no matter what, because you're leaning on them. It's like you're scared the whole time, but you know you're going to do it. And like now we all have those memories that connect. And I don't know, I really feel like I've gained like 19, or how many of it is this now? Like 18 yeah. Like friends like that I know that when I get back to Notre Dame, it's not just a relationship that I created abroad, like it's a relationship that I'll have forever. And that I think that the way that we went into the program had a big part in how we are so close.
That makes me so happy. And honestly, I mean, not to age myself, I studied abroad a very long time ago, but you do keep those friendships forever. I still have them, and they're beautiful. Just to share with the room a little bit, this semester is very different because it's the first semester back with after 18 months away and COVID still ongoing. So we did have a lot of additional rules that Lala mentioned. We did hit them with the rules right at the beginning, and I know it was overwhelming, but they've been phenomenal. And you know, the rules are in place, so we're doing our best to keep everyone safe and healthy in a very unpredictable situation, but so far everything is going really well and we're very pleased. To continue a little bit about some differences in the program, can you talk about your housing? And I'll just set the stage quickly to let everyone know that typically on this program, our students stay with homestays. But again, because of COVID, we weren't able to place students with families this semester. And hopefully we'll bring that back. But could you talk about what your housing is like right now?
Yeah. Well, when I first found out that we wouldn't have host families anymore, I was kind of bummed about it. But then like once we got here and then like the apartments that we have, golden, like they're so good. Like no complaints there. They are very great. We have our, like everyone has their own room and bathroom. We have great views no matter what floor you are. Like we can see the city of Puebla. And then like I kind of still get that host feeling family with our like I guess like the managers of the building. Like they definitely give us that like host family vibe. And then also just like even like with our professors or like local businesses, like I still feel like I have that like connection, if that makes sense. And then as far as COVID making a difference, I think there are also positive things that came out of it. So like as our for our political history class, our professor Elisa, I was talking to her about like what's different now. And it's different because like with that class, they usually didn't visit like historical places in the city. And the reason that they decided to add some like that element was because we wouldn't be able to go out as much and explore as much, or we would have a lot of limitations. So just having that class and being able to visit historical sites, like that's a plus for me. I don't see that as like a negative. And then I think COVID has also just allowed for the people in our program to be more creative in the ways that we can bond. And personally, I think it has made me, I guess, more like accountable and responsible for myself. Because like I said in the beginning, when I heard there were no host families, I was a little afraid. I was like, dang it, like, like I don't have any like guides really, but that wasn't the case at all. I think it actually allowed for me to grow with just like trusting myself with certain decisions, and then also embracing the fact that I'm in a new country and that yet that requires me to be brave and go out and like try things on my own.
Yeah, I would agree with Lala, like especially going into the program, I was like I was kind of upset. I was like, oh man, I really was looking forward to like bonding with we were given. And honestly, I think it was meant to be this way for like a reason for us at least. Like we have had the opportunity to just grow like so much closer as a group than we would have ever had like if we were in host families. So that's like one beautiful aspect that honestly came out of something that originally was like negative in a way, but truly wasn't at all. And just like kind of what Lala said, like on Andy and Paco, like are like the managers of the building, and they like are so amazing. Like they host like dessert and coffee nights for us sometimes. Like they're so nice. Like we can always talk to them about anything, or if like we need any recommendations. Like I've knocked on their door a few times and have been like, oh, what's like the best taco place to go to? And then we'll like end up going there. Like they're so helpful and just like really good guides like for here. But kind of has like I would agree with what Lala was saying. Like we have so many other guides besides what our host family would be. And it has made like the world of a difference. Just like being able to talk to professors, like our physics professor is honestly super helpful for that like aspect of like Puebla. Like he wants us to explore, he wants us to be like happy and like explore the area as much as we can is like one of his main goals, even though he's like the physics professor. So it's been really great just having professors that like will support us, help guide us, and like teach us what we need to know, especially to understand the culture more deeply, but also to like actually explore it for ourselves and not like it's been great to be independent in that way and kind of like set like what we want to do to explore. And then kind of with the political history class, like just being able to travel to different places within Mexico was not something that we thought we were going to be able to do at all, especially going into the program. Like I thought that we had to like stay in Puebla specifically, but like when we go out with like the coordinators, it's nice to be able to see different like aspects of the country and just get to learn more about, like, we visited like a hacienda one day and just being able to learn more about the history like within that hacienda, but then expanding on that, like the history in general of different areas of Mexico is so different than here in Puebla. So just being able to explore Puebla, but also like the surrounding areas has like definitely changed our viewpoints on different traditions and everything that goes along with that.
So I'm looking at your fancy kitchen behind you, and I'm prompted.
It's way too nice. We're so thankful. We're so blessed.
How are you getting your meals? Are you cooking? Are you going out to eat a lot, eating on campus? Typically, with homestays, some meals are provided, but in the apartments, they're not. So what delicious foods are you eating?
The food has been so great. Lala is such a great cook. I definitely steal her food sometimes. But yes, I love cooking. So this trip has been just amazing for me because it's something that I don't get to do at Notre Dame like very often at all, just because everything's so busy. You don't have time to just like take time to do something as simple as cooking, like seems overwhelming sometimes. And here it's like such a wonderful blessing to be able to come back from like our pre-medicine class or like rotations or something like that and like make like a home cooked meal. And there's a lot of like different food options in the area too. Like if you don't want to cook like a certain night, like we've definitely gone out plenty of times to eat for dinner. And one of my favorite things is at lunch at school. There's a lot of restaurants surrounding Upayap, and they're all like very cheap and amazing food. So it's just like the perfect option. Like we a group of like one of the classes that I'm in, we normally like go to a restaurant, like, and we tend to try a new one every week, but we do have a favorite one. And like they have like a 4-course meal and it's only like 54 pesos, which is $3. Like that's really cheap for like amazing food. And just like because we go there like kind of often now, we know like the people that work there, and just being able to like connect with them too has been great. But yeah, the food in the area has been great and very accessible, very cheap as well.
Yes. I would say, like, again, bringing up like it's like gaining a skill in adulthood. Like you now know that like, okay, you might be tired, but you have to eat. Like you have to eat something. Either you're going to cook, you're going to buy something. Like which one is it going to be? So sometimes I think like something that a lot of us cook here is pasta. It might be a different type of pasta, but we're going to eat pasta that week. Like it's going to last us, so we have to eat it, but it's good. It's not like a forced, situation, but pasta is definitely a go-to in our group. I also started this thing where I roast veggies.
Yes, they're
and
so good.
I think that's like a big thing now because it's like so easy, but they taste so good, and it's still getting you, it's still getting you some nutrients. Also, as far as the food, like the food in the area, I'm a foodie, so like I love to explore, and I remember mentioning in the first thing was said that I'm a little afraid because I don't eat red meat. Like all I eat is like chicken, shrimp, fish, all of that. And I just started eating that stuff. I used to be a vegetarian. So I was a little, worried about that, but that is so not a problem for anyone in this meeting that has like dietary, like specialties. Definitely, you will still definitely have great food to eat. Do not worry. And then as far as our school, like there are great places on campus to eat too, that you can grab like a sandwich or something on the go if you have classes. Like Crystal said, around the campus, there are great restaurants. And then as far as like the field trips or like the road trips that we've went on, I have not been disappointed in the food. Like all of the food has been great. I have a folder where I have all my pictures of food that I have eaten so far. So that could be something I share in the future with the names, because they're like things that I've never even heard of before. And I think that's a big part of studying abroad as well. Like food is definitely a huge part. But yes, I believe, I guess we could talk about the stipend a little bit. Like the stipend helps us like buy our groceries. And I would say like I spend, and this is like probably me being a little extra, I spend like a little bit over $50 a week for food. And I could definitely go a little like less than that. But yeah, I think that's great. I think $50 a week for food is not bad at all if you're cooking at home. So.
Yeah, I would say stipend wise, that is something that like me and my roommate, like we end up like coming back from the grocery store and like the bill is so much less than it would be like if we purchased like the same amount of food like in the US, but it's still like a good amount. So I would say we use like $70 per week on food, like split between groceries and like going out to lunch on campus or eating in the cafeteria as well on campus. But I think food has been a really great way to bring everyone together as well. Like we've been able to have like a potluck and just that was honestly so like one of my favorite things, like just being able to come together as a community and share those moments with others. And I know me and my roommate Shannon also like went out with one of our Mexican friends who was showing us like different food around like the center, and like we got to like learn kind of from him what like his favorite foods were. And so I feel like food is a really good connection point, like wherever you end up going in life, but it's been really great here.
Couldn't agree more. I had a question come in about cultural activities and excursions. I know you had an Independence Day celebration recently. Could you talk about that? And then any other maybe upcoming extracurricular travel that you have or activities that you'll be doing?
Yes, for Mexican Independence Day, it was so beautiful. Like it was just like we had like a flyer, like it could have easily just been like a text sent out, like, "Hey guys, we're having a celebration," but it was like the aesthetics put into it. Like we had a flyer.
We love you.
And it was like, "Thanks, Lisette, you did your thing." And we had a flyer, and it basically was like an invite to a special celebration, which was like so nice. And it was like dress code, red, green, and white. So everyone had on red, green, and white. And then before we got there, Lisette asked each of us what was our favorite song. And then as like we walked in, like our songs were playing, and it had like the like some Mexican flags hanging and like different like decorations. And we got like the girls got big bows. Some of the guys got mustaches, which is really funny. And then we also had like the little like blowout celebration things. It was just, everything was just like very well put together. And like the food just kept coming. Oh my gosh, it was like crazy. It was like so much food just coming and coming and coming. No complaints there. And then we also had a mariachi van. It was like unbelievable. And it was just like great. Like they came in and they were playing the like trumpet, violin, and like we had like they were like really entertaining. Like it was just great. Everything was like awesome. But that was like one of our like that big celebration. And then we also have birthday celebration.
Well, that did we have a birthday celebration, and what was that? It was kind of like a dinner celebration, but we like celebrate like each other's birthdays, and we like are able to like I know that we've like one of the students here, Pavel, who like lives with us, he's been able to teach us like more like traditional Mexican songs, like birthdays and stuff. So we've been able to celebrate those. But for excursions in the upcoming future, we have a trip to Oaxaca and Veracruz coming up in October, which we're really excited about. That should be really fun. I think we're still receiving like more information about what we're going to be doing, but I have all the faith that it's going to be amazing, because every excursion
has not been nothing bad.
Nothing bad. Yeah. We also recently over the weekend we went to La Malinche, which is like honestly like the hardest thing that physically I've ever done in my life, but was so amazing. It's a volcano here. We hiked 5 miles up and 5 miles down. So we couldn't walk the next day. But it was a really great excursion just to be able to like to see the city from a different viewpoint, but also kind of like bond through like making that trek together.
Yes.
And we're also taking a trip. We just received funding from NDI for Guanajuato and also San Miguel de Allende. I forgot Allende. Yeah, and so that's going to be really fun. A lot of exploring more historical aspects of Mexico since it's like in a different state, and just kind of getting to know that area, getting to know the traditions of the people, as well as like the rich history that is located there as well.
Great. So to take it back a little bit to the academic side of things, could you talk a little bit about your research, since I know that you're working on some different projects?
Lala's research is really cool.
Yeah, okay, so I really appreciate my research. I think I've mentioned before that I want to be a physical therapist. And I just think how everything came together was like, it had to be meant to be, like, there's no way. So I remember being in, like, before even getting to Mexico, I had mentioned that I would like to do research, but it was super competitive. And at the time I was super busy in the summer. I had like 2 internships and I had research over the summer as well. So I just let like that application go. But then Lisette like contacted me and she asked if I would be interested in nutrition. And I thought like she knew, like, because I'm a certified personal trainer, and I also study like nutrition on the side. And I thought like she knew that I was interested in things like that, but she actually didn't. So I thought that was really cool. And my research is a creation of a brownie that is beneficial for patients with multiple sclerosis. And like, that's just how that project even came about, is just like astronomical to me. Like it's just crazy. Like, I never thought I would be able to contribute to the science world in such a way, and something that's very meaningful for me. And I just like how everything is connecting, and that I'm able to learn like even just the basics in a science lab in Spanish. Like, we know pipetting. If you take science class, you know pipetting, you know that this is ethanol and methanol and things like that. But now I know them in Spanish. And I think that's just another like skill to have, and like just gaining more information. And then I think overall, my research is just very, like I said, meaningful. And at the end of the semester, I have to present to an online nutrition congress in Spanish, which I'm kind of nervous about, but it shall be fun, because that means that I will like have to get the project done. Like, I've already sent in like part of the abstract. Of course, it doesn't have results yet, but just like the steps towards making this project something that's beneficial is great.
Yeah, I am in love with Lala's project. I am so excited to see what comes out of it. But for my research, I'm continuing the research that I normally do at Notre Dame, but have been and others at UPIEP, as well as a doctor in Monterey, to bring the program that I work on in South Bend into Puebla. So that has been really, really exciting. So what I do is I work in the Brave Lab on campus with Dr. Miller-Graff, and we work on the PMET project, which is a project for empowering women, especially pregnant mothers who have been through intimate partner violence, and are also like going through this intervention program in order to gain resilience, as well as other more like opportunity to be able to express themselves and express what has happened, and kind of just be strengthened by that. So I love working like in the intervention program on campus, but we also have the intervention program in Monterey as well, Monterey, Mexico. So it's been really fun to be able to work with the doctor in Monterey, as well as one of the lab professors here, to be able to establish the program, the PMET program in Puebla. So that's currently what we're doing right now. And we've been with Hospital de la Mujer, and we've been kind of like combining efforts like all across the board. We've lots of Zoom meetings, and finally found like so everything's starting to go underway, which is really exciting. And I'll also be helping to code for some of the results of the intervention program, like through the Monterey project. So it'll be really great use of like the terms that I've been working with in my lab, but then also Spanish, kind of what Lala was saying, like just being able to learn it in that way, and like gain that deeper like cross-cultural understanding of like, it's the same program, but it's run differently because of this, or like I don't know, just little cultural differences within it has been so interesting. And I'm like really excited to see how the program plays out in Puebla as well.
That's excellent. Your enthusiasm for this program makes me so happy. I just have to tell you. But I know there must have been some challenges that you faced up to this point. So could you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had just on the program, adjusting, whatever the case may be, COVID, up to you?
Mm-hmm.
If any, hopefully you have them.
Yeah. I would say a big adjustment thing, at least for me, I think it was like pretty much the same for everyone except for those who were could speak like pretty fluent Spanish, was just like the language barrier starting off, and it's still something that I have been struggling with recently, just kind of like knowing like I'm able to understand so much more Spanish than I'm able to speak, and sometimes that like causes a lot of anxiety, and just trying to like work through that and also like learn through that, like I think is a really great growth opportunity, but definitely something that I have been struggling with like right off the bat, but also like still into now. I think in my head I was like, oh, after a month, like I'll definitely be fluent. I don't know why I would ever think that, because that's just not feasible. So that's a good thing, kind of just to know, like going into the program, like just as working as hard as you can to learn the language is going to be something that's really important, but also to be okay, like to allow yourself to make those mistakes, especially when you're talking with people. Like you want to be uncomfortable, you want to make those mistakes, because if you don't make them, like you're never going to learn from them, and you're just going to be static in your language ability. So that's something going into the program that definitely was a little bit, or something that has developed over the program that is a little stressful, but like in a good way. Like it's something that I'm really excited to grow from. And I would also say something that has been a little difficult with the protocols has just been like curfew, like just trying to get back in time. Like our curfew is 11 p.m. Which I'm thankful for, that we even have it like that late. Like I would never want to like talk bad about anything like that, but it has been a struggle, just like especially when you're like meeting new people and you're having good conversations, and then like you have to rush back and kind of explain why that's the case, and just kind of like going like from there, like is something that has been a little bit difficult, but something doable. Like it's very much like a blessing that we're even here. So I'm thankful more to be here than the curfew that we do have. But the curfew has been tough, especially on the weekends, just coming back in time. But
I agree with what Crystal said about the curfew. And then I think for me personally, I think a lot of time, well, for majority of my life, I would say I have been uncomfortable, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's allowed me to grow and try new things and be in different environments. That has allowed me to understand more people and more backgrounds. And I think right now, as far as like personally, not even, I think definitely studying abroad is like helping me get to more of a deeper understanding. But I think before this year, a lot of times I thought being a minority was a weakness, but it's actually a power. It's something that needs to be more embraced and loved and expressed. And I think being in Puebla, I mean, even in America, I understand that I am different, just as anyone else is. But I think being in Puebla, being that I am American, but I'm also a person of color, and being that I am very different from the people that are in my group, I often stick out. And I think sometimes that could be a little like anxious, like for me, like it gives me anxiety a little bit, because even like with like the stares, and it might not even be stares of like what is it, like disgust or like wondering. I think it's more so stares of like wondering or like that I look so different because I mean, just the color of my skin and the type of hair that I have and things like that. But I've realized that my identity is something that I am learning to love and that I really appreciate. And I feel like studying abroad has allowed me to focus more on that. And I think even though it's a challenge, it's also a challenge that I want to have because in the end, I think it could be something that's used as representation for, future students of color abroad. And also just for me to help me tell my story in the future, which I think is something that I really appreciate.
That's great. Everybody has challenges when they're abroad, and I think they are so important. I agree with you, Lola, to help you grow as a person, regardless of what they are. And I think your journey is really beautiful. I'm very mindful of time. I see we have about 10 minutes-ish left, and I want to make sure that if anyone has any questions, that the floor is open for you to ask them. If you would like to unmute yourself, you can. You can certainly also put questions in the chat, but I will stop talking for a moment and see if anybody has anything they'd like to ask.
I have a question about the language component. How has your, study abroad been sort of a catalyst in your language acquisition? And, how does it compare to just, taking a class at Notre Dame in Spanish?
That's an amazing question.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say we know more than what we realize. Like, I think we're always so scared, like, oh, I don't want to say it. But if you just relax and speak, like, so much more than what you think. And I think like, yes, there's a huge language barrier, but that language barrier is also causing us to work harder. And if you don't understand something, like my advice would be like to ask them to repeat it, like as many times as you need it to be repeated. You should not feel ashamed because you want to know what they're saying. And then I think also with the classes that we have, since they are like, some of them are like philosophical, like deeper meaning, like you're gaining like vocabulary words that are very useful. And that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, I would also say like kind of going off like what you had originally asked about like being a catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think speaking Spanish here is so much different than a classroom. And I'm so thankful for that because this is much more like real life, like situations, like more realistic, like even just like talking with your professors, like whether that be like in class or outside of class, like talking with other students, like other Mexican students or other UPAEP students, or just anyone in general that you meet. It's a lot different than just being in a classroom and like reading words and like kind of talking with each other or like engaging in that way. It's been really beneficial to come here. I think that I definitely would not have learned this much Spanish in such a short period of time if I wasn't living in this country and like learning every day. And just being able to have those like conversations, like even deep conversations in Spanish, like that has been like my favorite thing. Like when that you're able to like understand what is being said and you can like contribute something thoughtful back in a language that isn't like your first language, has been super helpful that I don't think I would have been able to do in a classroom without kind of using it every day like we have here and in like situations ranging from school to outside of school. It's been really helpful for language acquisition. Mm-hmm.
Is there a question? There are
questions in the chat, yes.
Okay, yes. So we're actually just starting to work with what's the name of the school? Cheeky school.
It's so cute. Yeah, we're working. Is it elementary or middle?
It's like preschool, elementary, and middle school. And it is a local school in Puebla that we're going to be helping out in their English classes. Chiquico, that's what it is. Okay, yes. We just toured it this week too. Like people I think
Yeah,
6
Tanya.
people went today, and then I know like 7 of us went yesterday. So we just like toured the place. But the people there are amazing. The students there are so cute. They're amazing too. But yes, it's going to be really great to be able to work as English teachers there, and also help out in any capacity that we can with the children and everything like that. So that's one opportunity. I know that there were a little bit less opportunities this semester just because of COVID and everything, but there was a virtual like service fair through Upaya. I have not watched the videos yet, but they had a like a fair recently where they have a lot of virtual like NGO opportunities that all look really amazing to participate in as well.
Yeah, I really this kind of connects, but I really like that Upayap, like they send out like emails about like what you like things you can apply for, or like I know one thing was like designer logo this year, like just ways to get involved with the university, and then also like NGO opportunities. So check your emails, even at Notre Dame. That's something that please check your emails. There's so many great opportunities in your emails, by the way.
Agreed. Thank you for saying that. Please check your email.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, is there anything that you two would like to just share with everyone that we didn't ask about before we say goodbye?
Just a big thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate like the efforts in making study abroad more open, or more like, what's the word that I'm looking for? More accessible, yeah, more accessible to a wider range of students at Notre Dame. And I like that you're adding things, and then not only that you're adding them, but you're adding them with students. Like you're putting in place opportunities and you're asking for help from students. Like I think that's the best way to make it best for students, is when you ask, you know, students that are currently in it to be a part of it somehow. And helping and furthering the program. And really appreciative.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Thank you guys so much for everything that you've done for our program, but also like just like these sessions, like being like letting people have access to like these opportunities to see what everything's about. But also I'm just thankful for ND study abroad for making like study abroad accessible for all students, no matter from. I know that was something that I was really worried about coming to Notre Dame, because I love traveling. I love like learning about new cultures, but I didn't think it was financially possible for me. So that was also something that I want everyone to know. It is financially possible. Like Notre Dame is really good about that. And there are so many scholarships out there to apply to that will help you in this process as well. So just knowing that this is possible for you, if that's something that you're thinking of, as well as a big thank you for everything that you guys have done to help this program go through. So keep going.
Yes, and
Thank you.
And really, really big thank you to Lisette for putting up with all 19 of us all the time. We really appreciate you, Lisette. Thank you so much. It's awesome. Like we could tell that this is something that you enjoy, which is like if your teacher enjoys the subject more, because Lisette is really enthusiastic about just furthering our experience here.
Lisette's the best. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you both for, first of all, for confirming that the changes that we've been trying to make have been impactful. And I have to give Sam, my colleague on here, a lot of credit for leading the charge there. But I'm so glad to hear that things are moving in the right direction. I hope they keep moving there. But thank you most of all for your time and for answering all the questions and sharing your experiences. This has been a really fun meeting, and I've really enjoyed hearing about your experiences. So thank you.